Let's review how we draw an image on the screen, and then let's discover how we can draw part of an image, not the full image. The first thing we did was to declare a variable of type pImage, and we call this variable photo. The next thing we did was to load. So we said photo equals load image. And then inside parentheses and inside quotes, we wrote the name of the image. So at this point, the image is loaded into this variable, and now we would like to display the image. So let me draw here. This is gonna be our program display. Let's assume it's 300 pixels wide and 300 pixels tall. And then we have this long image here. So we want to display the loaded image inside our program. For that, we used a function called image. And the first parameter was the variable photo. That's where the photo is contained at this moment. And we have to also say where do we want the photo to appear on the screen. The point 00 is this one, it's the top left corner. And our image would appear something like this. So it can happen that part of the image, like in this case, is going to be outside of the screen, so we will not see the full image. So how can we display part of this image? Let's imagine we just want to show this part here, and we want to display it in this position. We cannot use image because when we call the image function, we are only specifying that we want this whole photo, not part of it. So we have to use another function called copy, which will copy this part of one image into our program screen. And copy takes lots of parameters, 9 to be precise. The first one is the same like when we call image, is the variable, in this case is photo. This variable contains the photo that we want to show. Now there's two groups of 4 parameters. The first group defines which part of our photo do we want to display. These 4 parameters are the same parameters we use to define a rectangle, so we know how to do that. First, we use x and y. The x is the distance from the left border, the y is the distance from the top border. So here we have x and y, and then we have width and height. This is the width of this area and the height of this area. So with these 4 variables, we are specifying that we want to show only this part of the image, not the full image. Now we have to do the same with our screen. We have to define another rectangle. This is the top left corner, which would be again x and y, and then the width and the height. The width and the height where we will draw the image. You can use the same width and height here and here if you don't want to resize the image. If you specify like a higher width or height for our screen here, then you would be stretching the image. You can perfectly do that. You could be copying a small image here and then draw it very large here. Or you can copy this image here and actually draw it, stretching it from left to right border. It will be distorted, but it's completely possible. So let's write a small program and use the copy function to see how this is working. So remember, the first thing we're going to do is save the project. This way we can import the image into our project. And I'm going to call our project copy image. So now it's saved. Now we can add the file. We want to add an image. I will search here on my folder, and I have this guitarman.jpg. So I click OK, and I can see down here one file added to the sketch. If you don't trust the message, you can go here to Sketch, Show Sketch folder, and then inside the data folder you should find the image you just copied. So everything is fine. So let's create the typical setup and draw functions, void setup and void draw. This way we can animate our program. I will declare here at the top the p-image file. It's gonna be called photo again. Inside the setup, I will set the size of our screen. I will use 300, and then I will load the image. So I will say photo equals load image, and inside parentheses and inside double quotes goes my guitar man.jpg. So this should load the image inside this variable. Let's first try it out. Let's see if this is working or not. So I'm gonna use first image photo 0 0, and let's see if we get our man there. Fine, it's loaded. So now instead of using image, I can use copy, and the photo will stay the same. The first parameter is the variable. Now I have to specify which part of this image do I want to copy. So let's go back here. We don't know exactly what is the size of our loaded image at the moment, but I'm gonna say here just to write some numbers. Maybe let's copy from 30 and 30. This is 30 pixels from the left and from the top, and 50-50. So I'm just gonna copy a small part of this image. And now I have to specify the 4 values of where do I want to have this part of the image. So I can start by just saying 0 0 50 50. This is just the most basic example. I'm gonna draw the copied block into the top left corner of the screen and with exact same size 50 50 as the source. So if I run the program, I can see this rectangle here is probably 50-50 pixels wide and tall, and it's on the top left corner. Let's change the numbers a little bit. So I'm gonna keep this at 0, but I'm gonna push it down to 100. So now it's here, it's 100 pixels from the top. And let's make it taller. So if I type here 100, now it will be stretching this part. And let's make it use here the width. So it will go from border to border. And now just to make it look a little bit more beautiful, I'm gonna make the background darker. Background maybe 40. I will set a line color of 255, which is white. And I'm gonna draw 2 lines. I'm gonna draw 2 lines, one here at the top and one at the bottom. So I can do that by typing here line from the left border and 100. So it's matching these numbers here. And then I'm gonna type here the width and 100. So now we will get the first line, which is, oh, I made a mistake here. Width again. And now I have my line here and I want a similar line on the bottom border. So I can just copy this. And instead of typing here 100, I will type 200 in both cases. So now there is one line on each side. What if I want to copy a bigger part? Now the part which I'm copying is quite small. It's 30 pixels from the top. So it should be something like here. And then maybe just 50 and 50. I can increase this size. I'm going to say 150 and 150 and see how this changes. So now I can start seeing the head of this man. I can push this down. So if I increase the Y value, what I'm doing is bringing the rectangle down. So I will load another part. Let's see that one. So now I can see the face of the man. I can see it's stretched. And this is happening because I'm stretching one rectangle which is 150 pixels wide and tall into another rectangle which is 300 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall. So what happens in that case? If I have here a rectangle that is 150 and 150, and then I'm drawing it with 300 and 100, so 100 is less, so I'm drawing something like this. That's why the image is distorted. But I think you get the idea. You can play with all these numbers to choose from where are you copying, what is the size of what you copy, and where do you place this image on the screen and with which size. And of course you can animate. You can play with all these numbers and convert them into variables which you change over time. So you can make things stretch and move and zoom in and zoom out. And we will do that kind of experiments on next episodes.